All praises and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham Ha Rakah Kodash. Double honors to our apostle elders which rule great millstone well. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure unto the end. Shalom wa abababal. So 2nd Maccabees chapter 9. Alright, it deals with what happens to this man Antiochus. Which there was many Antiochus, alright? But this one, he actually was very sick, alright? And he knew it was because he was messing with the Israelites, alright? Antiochus was a Greek, which they were the Edomites. The Romans were Edomites, which today the Edomites are the so-called Caucasians, which call themselves white, alright? And the Israelites, who they oppressed for many generations and still are oppressing, are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. These are the bywords that they call us, and we've been scattered throughout the world. So you got Israelites on every continent, speaking every language, looking like every shade of color under the sun. But they're going to have faith, which is a special ingredient only for the Israelite and really them that are saved. All right, because these reprobates, they have a zeal for God, but they lack knowledge, and they don't want knowledge. They don't want reproof. They don't want correction. So they're going to be destroyed in their shame, in their sin. But there's a remnant that is waking up, and they're going to be saved, starting with the elect men, 12,000 out of each of the 12 tribes of Israel, which are prophets. And then you got the 1/3, which is going to entirely, be Israelite, that are repenting and are delivered with the elect. It says in 2nd Maccabees chapter 9, so he was upset because he lost a fight. I'll read it in 1st Maccabees 6. It says in verse 1, about that time King Antiochus, traveling through the high countries, heard say that Alameus in the country of Persia was a city greatly renowned for riches, silver, and gold, and that there was in it a very rich temple. Therein were coverings of gold, and breastplates, and shields, which Alexander, son of Philip, the Macedonian king, who reigned first among the Greeks, had left there. Right? But it wasn't his time to rule no more. So he tried to take it back from him, right? But he wasn't able to. It says in 2nd Maccabees 9 verse 2, for he had entered the city called Persepolis and went out to rob the temple and to hold the city, whereupon the multitude running to defend themselves with their weapons put them to flight. And so it happened that Antiochus, being put to flight of the inhabitants, returned with shame. See, and the Lord is the one that put him to shame, because the Lord controls who wins and who loses in a battle. He controls who lives and who dies today, who's rich and who's poor. So this was all according to the Lord. And this Antiochus was an Edomite, and Edomites are atheists, literally. But they all know that, when the hand of the Lord is against them, they know it. There's there's a word for not believing. It's called, let me think real quick. Give me 1 second. Yeah, how about atheism? All right, the Edomites are usually they're self-proclaimed atheists, but when shit hits the fan, everybody's true colors show, and everybody knows there's a God. Okay, it tells you here that even Antiochus, who even called himself the manifestation of God, Epiphany, right? That's what it means, the manifestation of God. So let me show you what he says when he's down here suffering with his curse that the Lord put upon him. Let's see. It's at the bottom, said the king, he pretty much knew it was for fucking with the Israelites. Salakia, let me just find it real quick. Alright, this is it right here in verse 8. I thought it was at the bottom of the chapter from reading it. I read it a little bit ago, about a month ago. And I thought it was at the bottom, but it's right here in 8. First Maccabees 6, verse 8. Now when the king heard these words, he was astonished and sore moved, whereupon he laid him down upon his bed and fell sick for grief, because it had not befallen him as he looked for, because he lost that battle, right? Trying to get those gold shields and swords from the Persians, which Alexander the Greek left behind. And what is that? Is Esau's used to winning. He hates losing. And just like he's losing back then, he's losing now. Okay? It says, and there he continued many days, for his grief was ever more and more, and he made account that he should die. So he wasn't just losing financially, physically, his power in the world, but he was losing his health, his mental fortitude. It says, wherefore he called for all his friends and said unto them, the sleep is gone from mine eyes, and my heart faileth for very care. So the Lord puts thoughts in people's minds which they can't even control, right? The good thoughts, the bad thoughts. Us, we have the Comforter, but the Edomites don't. It says, and I thought with myself, into what tribulation am I come? So he's calculating his situation, and how great a flood of misery is it, wherein now I am, for I was bountiful and beloved in my power, which that's why he named himself Epiphany. Antiochus Epiphany, which I believe this is the 4th, all right, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's Antiochus Epiphany the 4th, all right? So he was all powerful at one time on earth, but the Lord took that power, because really he's going to give it to his son at the end of the day. He's going to take all the crowns from these heathens, and his son is going to rule. And his son, Yahushua, is going to set up King David on earth. It says, but now I remember the evils that I did at Jerusalem, and that I took all the vessels of gold, just like the Nebuchadnezzar's grandson. It says, of gold and silver that were therein, and sent to destroy the inhabitants of Judah without a cause, right? So he wanted to kill the Israelites without a cause, with no reason, right? He just hated us so much that he wanted to kill us, all right? Well, that's how these Edomites are today. That's why they're going to make draconian law to where they're able to put Jake to death on spot, right? It says, I perceive, therefore, that for this cause these troubles are come upon me. And behold, I perish through great grief in a strange land. And, Esau's men are dying right now. Look at who they call Lord Jacob Rothschild. You don't think he was miserable in his last days? Right? Tormented. Right? That he has to leave this world without their new world order set up. See? That no one controls life and death but Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Nobody controls wealth but Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Nobody controls health, which is more important than wealth, but Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Yahweh is the Heavenly Father, and his son is Yahushai. And he loves Jacob and hates Esau. Now, Esau thinks he's loved by God because he's been able to slaughter the Israelite, right? But now there's coming a time to pay for all that tribulation you have caused us. And that's why America is going to be destroyed by nuclear missiles shot by its allies and its enemies. All right, so many missiles that is going to shake the earth like a drunkard. All right. So I just want to bring that out, that when he was dying, he knew it was for what he did to the Israelites. All right. He didn't think about, oh no, I didn't pay the taxes to the king over him, right? Because there was a king over him. They were all ruling, but there was a order still, even unto the Greeks, that they had to, partake in. That's why he was a general in the Greek army. See right here, Antiochus IV Epiphanes, which you have a carving of his head, right? Which it tells you Antiochus' accession to the throne was controversial. It says the attainment acquisition, which that means to, let's see here. It says an asset or object bought or obtained typically by a library or museum, the act of purchase of one company by another, buying or obtaining an asset or object, learning or developing a skill, habit, or quality. So that's what he did. He moved through the ranks of the military, where he pretty much became king as the Greeks. All right, now going back to 2 Maccabees 9, I just want to get where this dude got plagued, all right? So it says in 2 Maccabees 9, verse 4, then swelling with anger, he thought to avenge upon the Jews the disgrace done to him by those that made him flee. So the Persians made him mad, so he said, that he wanted to take it out on the Israelites. Because you had Israelites all over the known world at that time, because we were already in Babylon, right? We were already in all these different countries because of our slavery. We went to Egypt. That's why when the angel sent Joseph, Mary, and Yahushua to Egypt, they didn't live amongst Egyptians. They lived amongst the Israelites that were in the land of Egypt. Job was a rich man of Ur, but really he was a man that lived in Babylon, an Israelite man that lived in Babylon, right? He was the descendants of the Israelites that were taken in captivity during the time of Daniel. See, so you had Israelites all over the known world. It says, therefore commanded he his chariot men to drive without ceasing and to dispatch the judgment of Yahweh now following him. So he was saying that this plague was upon him like a spirit, right? It says, for he had spoken proudly, and you got to know that if you go into the history, which I've read some history books on these Greeks, and they were very superstitious. If an owl was to land on their boat, if something happened out of the normal, it was considered an omen. It says, for he had spoken proudly in this sort, that he would come to Jerusalem and make it a common burying place of the Jews. So he was wanting to turn our city, Jerusalem, into a graveyard. And this is blood that they still have to pay for. You got to remember, they slaughtered us in many generations, which the Bible tells you there's reincarnation. So they've slaughtered us many times over. We've died many times over. It says, but the Lord Almighty Yahweh, the power of Israel, smote him with an incurable and invisible plague. Or as soon as he had spoken these words, a pain of the bowels that was remediless, meaning they couldn't cure it, came upon him, and sore treatments of the inner parts, and that most justly, for he had tormented other men's bowels with many and strange torments, right? Which he was torturing the Israelites. It says, howbeit he nothing at all ceased from his bragging, but still was filled with pride, breathing out fire in his rage against the Jews, and commanding to haste the journey. But it came to pass that he fell down from his chariot, carried violently, so that having a sore fall, all the members of his body which were much pained, and thus he that a little afore that he might command the waves of the sea, so proud was he beyond the condition of man. Remember, he called himself Epiphany. Epiphany means God manifestation. It says, and weigh the high mountains in a balance, was now cast on the ground and carried in a horse litter. You know, because what do the horses do? They shit behind themselves. So he's pretty much being drugged in the shit. This so-called great Greek general that called himself God on earth, showing forth unto all the manifest power of Yahweh. So he did this through his son Yahushua. He knocked that motherfucker right off his horse, right? And made him be drugged in the ground in the shit the horse left behind, right? And he has worms in his body. It says, so that the worms rose up out of the body of this wicked man, and whilst he lived in sorrow and pain, his flesh fell away, and the filthiness of his smell was noisome, meaning it bothered, that's how nasty and stanky it was, to all his army. So this dude was just a rotting body. He was still alive, but he was living in torments. Why? Because he fucked with the Israelites. And this is what's going to happen to these Edomites once again. You're playing with fire and you're going to get burnt. It says, and the man that thought a little afore he could reach to the stars of heaven. That's the pride of these devils. They think they could touch heaven. That's why they got a space force today. No man could endure to carry for his intolerable stink. So nobody can even come near this dude no more. This dude that said people thought he was going to conquer the world, make a one world government under the Greek Antiochus the Epiphany IV, right? But this dude's smelling like ass all day long. He can't even control that. He got worms coming out of his body. His body's all damaged from the wreck that he suffered on the chariot. See? So this dude's in bad condition. But the Lord is tormenting his brain, his thoughts, right? As he suffers the physical pain. It says, here, therefore, being plagued, he began to leave off his great pride and to come to the knowledge of himself by the scourge of Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai. His pain increasing every moment. So it's not, he didn't just finish there. The Lord made him suffer while he lived, right? He suffered in that bed where he laid sick and dying, but he wouldn't die until the Lord allowed him to die. And when he himself could not abide his own smell, that's how bad the rotting flesh on him was. The meat was falling off of him, and it said that he couldn't even stand his own smell. He said these words, it is meet to be subject unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and that a man that is mortal should not proudly think of himself if he were God, right? Well, the so-called white man has held to, because this image, who you know as Jesus Christ, is still being pushed throughout the world, right? And who pushes that image? The so-called white man, saying that they are God, that they're the creator, that they are the controller of life and death, that they can control who you marry, where you could bury, who's free and who's not, right? And they're the wicked. That's why the world is in a wicked state today, because these Greeks and Romans today are the so-called Americans, the French, the British, the Spain, the Germans, right? Even the Russians are Edomites, right? So these Edomites, they have how to pay because they're doing exactly what Antiochus Epiphanes IV did, right? And they need no judgments to come upon them. But what did their forefathers say? Right here, it says, it is meet to be subject to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai. So all you elite, really, you should surrender and bring all your wealth to us. But you're not going to do that. As the Lord said, even of Pharaoh, right? He's going to harden your heart to where you won't let us go. Only so he could bring you down with the great strike, the great smite. It says, it is meet to be subject unto Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, and that a man that is mortal should not proudly think of himself if he were God. And you know who else was humbled like this? Nebuchadnezzar. When he was made into an animal, pretty much beastly like, and he had to live like that for 7 years. You can read that in Daniel 4, when he comes back to being like a man. He praises Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai and says, no one is greater than him. And he's that head of gold, right? His kingdom was that head of gold, meaning he was the best kingdom on earth. These Greeks, these Romans, these Americans, these French, these British, the European Union, all right, they're nothing. Nothing, all right? It says, this wicked person vowed also unto the Lord, who now no more would have mercy upon him, saying thus, that the holy city to the which he was going in haste to lay it even with the ground and to make it a common burying place, he would set at liberty. So now he's like praying to God, if you heal me, I won't do what I thought I was going to do. Please heal me. It says, and as touching the Jews, whom he had judged not worthy so much as to be buried, but to be cast out with their children and to be devoured of the fowls and wild beasts, he would make them all equals to the citizens of Athens. So he's promising them all these things, just like they're going to promise you in these last days that implantable microchip. They're going to say, if you take this, you're going to be okay. You're going to live. You're going to have safety. You're going to have food for your children. But it's all garbage. It says, and the holy temple, which before he had spoiled, he would garnish with goodly gifts, and restore all the holy vessels with many more, and out of his own revenue defray the charges belonging to the sacrifices. Because the Greeks, they changed the sacrifices. They altered the times. They did a lot of things to the Israelites. They made them sacrifice pork, right? Made them eat pork. Made them not to circumcise, right? Made them into faggots, because a lot of those Greeks were faggots. That's why they used to like to work out naked, right? It says, yea, and that also he would become a Jew himself, and go through all the world that was inhabited, and declare the power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai. So he was like, let me serve you, Lord. Right? But the Lord don't want you Edomites. He hates you Edomites. It says that. Romans 9:13, Malachi chapter 1. Right? Esau have I hated, but Jacob have I loved. And the only ones that are allowed to do this service are the Israelites. Esau doesn't have no inheritance with us. But for all this, his pains would not cease, meaning the Lord wasn't with you, right? He wasn't with this red devil. He said, fuck it. He turned that knife that's in his belly. It says, for the just judgment of Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai was come upon him. Therefore, despairing of his health, he wrote unto the Jews the letter unwritten, containing the form of a supplication after this manner. Antiochus, king and governor, to the good Jews, his citizens, wiseth much joy, health, and prosperity. So now he's trying to bless them, right? On his deathbed, after he'd done all kinds of evil to him, now he's trying to somewhat repent for it. If ye and your children fare well in your affairs, be to your contentment. I give very great thanks to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, having my hope in heaven. See, he knew he was about to meet his maker. So this is why, in these last days, it tells you that they're going to try to please us. There's going to come a time where they're going to try to give us things, these Edomites, to try to compensate for what they've done. Even these low-level Edomites, when they actually realize that we're the actual Israelites the Bible speaks of, and whoever blessed us is going to be blessed, and whoever cursed us is going to be cursed, they're going to say, fuck my life, give it all to them. But that doesn't mean nothing. It doesn't weigh in the balance of what you took from us for many generations. It says, as for me, I was weak, or else I would have remembered kindly your honor and goodwill returning out of Persia, because we left Babylon, and being taken with a grievous disease, I thought it necessary to care for the common safety of all. See, he's saying, because I'm suffering, it's just out of my own good heart. I want to care about everybody. But it's not that. What it is he's trying to bribe the Lord. It says, not distrusting mine health, but having great hope to escape this sickness. But considering that even my father, at what time he led an army into the high countries, appointed a successor, to the end that if anything fell out contrary to expectation, or if any tidings were brought that were grievous, they of the land, knowing to whom the state was left, might not be troubled. Again, considering, so he's pretty much saying, if you don't have the tax money, don't even worry about it. It's all right. It says again, considering how that the princes that are borderers and neighbors unto my kingdom wait for opportunities and expect what shall be the event, I have appointed my son Antiochus king, whom I often committed and commanded unto many of you when I went up into the high provinces, to whom I have written. And that's pretty much the point. Now, you see what I'm saying? Really, that's it. That's it. No, that made the point. But I want to give all praise and glory to Yahweh Shibni Hashem B'Shem HaRikakodash. The honors to our apostle elders, which rule great millstone wow. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure unto the end. Shalom wa apapabal.